Bob Cardillo, our political expert from MV and UC, the political science professor. Bob, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. Good morning. How are you all doing?
Good. Yeah, just move that a little bit and then twist it for me there so I can see you. There,
there
good.
we go.
Aha.
We're doing fine.
Yeah, great. So lots to talk about locally and nationally with the political scene. First of all, we'll have a debate tomorrow, a virtual debate with the Utica mayoral candidates. I know that's a job that you pursued in the past, and it'll be interesting tomorrow. We've gathered all of their answers to 6 or 7 key questions, and we'll present them back to back in a virtual debate format tomorrow so folks can compare and contrast the answers of the 3 candidates right next to each other on some of the key issues.
That's a very good thing to do. Unfortunately, we don't do enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember 4 years ago when we ran, there was only one, and they didn't even call it a debate. It was a forum, and then there was one on TV. Same thing. It was a forum, and if you're able to get candidates out front and have to talk to each other, debates are good. That's what it's all about.
The discussion end of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. Some have avoided debates, too. We had the Rome mayoral candidates in, and we invited all of them, and 3 of the 4 showed up. A 4th did not, which we were kind of sad about. But I don't know if you think that is a disadvantage sometimes for certain candidates.
Well, look, it's you want to win. So, I always equate it to sports. If you want to win, you put your best foot forward. Well, if you're a good defense, that's what you play. And if you're not a good debater and you don't have to get on that stage, it depends on where you are polling wise.
Right.
And, why get on? I mean, if you're strong, why get on? If you don't have to.
Interesting.
So it's all a policy issue, and it's pragmatic in terms of how they do it.
All right. We had some interesting twists and turns with some of the council seats. Jay, we were talking about that earlier on the show, and the revelation last night that one of the candidates has been charged with stalking.
Yeah. Doug Joslin running for the 6th ward against Samantha Klaas-Montesta.
Oh, I'm sorry, another one?
Yeah, another one.
So this is the 3rd issue that we've had with some council members who are vying for office.
The other ones are Board of Legislators.
Right, exactly, yeah. So 2 issues of stalking and 1 of forcible touching. Will those hurt the candidates, do you think, Bob?
And do you think that's a political move as well?
Who knows? Will it hurt? I don't think it helps. I mean, that's not the kind of press you want.
Right.
It depends on how much airtime it gets. I think in the case of, I don't know how many people really know him.
Doug, right.
Right. I don't really know how many people know him. I don't know how close people are paying attention. When it gets this close to an election, somebody may allege that it's political, whether it is or it isn't, who knows. I just don't think that's anything you want to be tagged with, quite frankly. I mean, I wouldn't want to be having to address that.
Sure.
And, of course, 6th ward encompasses our radio station here and the Canal Park area as well. So, North Utica.
Numbers to reach us, 624-0870, or you can text the show at 623-0373 here on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM WUTQ. Bob Cardillo joining us to talk some politics this morning on a local basis and also a national level. Donald Trump was on the Today Show yesterday making his comments about his small loan that his dad gave him.
My whole life really has been a no. It has not been easy for me. And, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest.
Bob, you're smiling over there at this clip. What do you got?
Bob, you've given your kids the $1 million loan.
Yeah. Boy, they would love it, let me tell you. One of them might be listening now. I'm sorry, honey, I can't do that.
Right.
She'll pay you back with interest.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is this going to wipe out some of the goodwill that he was building with the average man across the United States?
With Donald Trump, I don't think so. Here's the reason why. Everybody knows he's wealthy.
And that's what Samantha.
Everybody knows he's wealthy. So, and he says kind of outrageous things. That wasn't necessarily outrageous. That was reality. My father had a lot of money. He gave me $1 million. What's interesting is what he'll say to answer this if it comes up. Yeah, he gave me $1 million, but I made $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm a successful guy. Now think about this. Compare this to what Hillary Clinton said. Hillary Clinton said when they were broke when they came out of the White House.
Right.
Which I think is actually worse than saying that my father gave me $1 million loan and then I turned it into whatever. You're going to try to tell people you were broke after you spent 8 years in the White House?
Good point. The Clintons trying to identify and say, hey, we are.
And it was funny that you're talking about that because I saw her, they had that this morning on Morning Joe. They were showing the clip of her when she was lamenting about how poor they were and we couldn't put our daughter through college and we had trouble with mortgages, plural.
Right.
You know, the one in the Hamptons and the one here and the one that, you know, that. So I don't know that his is so outrageous.
Well, and I just, it's the phrasing of it that bothered me a little bit. He didn't have to use the word small.
Yeah.
You know, the small loan. If he just said, you know what, I was very
to him $1 million is small.
That's true.
It's all, isn't it relative?
That's true.
Well, it's kind of interesting what Bob just brought up because it's kind of working in his favor in some aspect already by reiterating the Clinton.
Oh, absolutely. And I would not put it past him that everything he says is calculated. I mean, I don't think there's a word that this man says that is not calculated
and
to get some kind of reaction.
And how important is that? And how much do you think that goes into some of these campaigns and statements?
A lot.
And you've worked on presidential campaigns.
Yes, absolutely, a lot. I mean, you hang on every word. Literally hang on every word. The new thing that's interesting is that Hillary Clinton's comment about shouting. Have you seen that? They're accusing, her campaign is accusing Bernie Sanders of being anti-women because Bernie Sanders at the debate said shouting about we don't need to hear the shouting about gun control.
Right.
About gun. Well, and that's all he's ever said. It's not just about her. And it's funny because is that calculated? Yes, because what she's doing, even if it's a little low, what they're doing is bringing up the gun control issue with Bernie Sanders. Like, hey, he's never been for gun control. You're a liberal socialist, but yet you're not for gun control.
Again, so, strategic.
Yes, absolutely. Every comment that's made, and you have to remember, too, it's not the candidate, it's the handlers. Sometimes the handlers go a little overboard.
Yeah, we're talking to Bob Cardillo, our political science expert here on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM WUTQ. If you have any thoughts, pass them along via your text line, if you like, 623-0373, or you could call the show at 624-0870.
Political poll numbers, how do you think they're going to start to change, or you think they'll change? Ben
Carson now ahead of Donald Trump in Iowa.
This is interesting. And he's not just ahead in Iowa. He's way ahead. But here's my analysis. By the way, you call me an expert, I'll get a little chuckle out of that. If I was an expert, I would have won 4 years ago. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that may be thinking that. But anyway.
Well, you're more expert than we are. Let's put it that way.
I'm kidding. Yeah, we got to have a little levity every now and then.
I know.
Like, too. But Carson's rise in Iowa is interesting. They're very much evangelicals in Iowa. And, again, calculated shot. Donald Trump took a shot at his religion. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. Or
Adventist.
However you. And it was funny. I watched the way he did it, and he's got the hat on, and he's what is a Seventh-day Adventist? He's amazing. But I think what happens is if he loses Iowa, which he could lose Iowa, but that's 100 days away. But let's assume he loses Iowa, meaning Trump. If he wins in New Hampshire, he's going to win in South Carolina. I don't know how you have anybody else come out of the pack. If he wins in Iowa, Katie barred the door. I think he's on his way.
Well, are things going to have to turn around, and what would turn that around right now with the public sentiment going toward Ben Carson in an overwhelming fashion in the polls right now?
It's 100 days away.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, what does he have to do? What does he have to do to gain the trust and the love of the folks in the heartland of the United States? Well, that may be an area where he's lacking a little bit right now.
The other thing is, remember, it's the ground game. It's a caucus. It's not like a primary that we have in New York. You know, you go to the polls, you vote. It's a caucus. So you're gathering your people to go to this caucus. And if you don't have the ground game, and apparently he's spending a lot of money, Donald Trump, with the ground game. So
he knows how to spend money,
yeah,
sure.
He's got the ground game going. So let's see. I mean, like I said, it's 100 days. It's 100 days away. Who knows? He doesn't have to win Iowa, though. If he wins Iowa, I think it's over.
Okay.
What are some of the key strategies or factors you think that he'll have to focus on to?
Well, I don't know that I don't know that it was a real smart move to go after Carson's religion. I just don't know. I mean, but think about it.
For a sensitivity issue of folks of or
you know,
just looking
and
as
also Carson is this nice guy. You know, how do you go after a guy who's such a nice guy? And people don't like, you know, kind of like picking on the brain surgeon who's the nice guy.
No, that's a good point. Trump feeds well off the feuding.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not, and Carson's not engaging him. Unlike Jeb Bush, which it's terrible. I mean, Jeb Bush is a very bright guy. He's a terrific policy wonk. I mean, I think in terms of his abilities, he would make a very good president. But he is Donald Trump is under his skin, big time.
All right, Bob Cardillo joining us from time to time on the show here. Be interesting tomorrow when we have our virtual mayoral debate for the Utica candidates. Bob, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate your time today.